Ankalaev. Ankalaev. Now, guys, I got to tell you, I'm on board with Ankalaev. I like Ankalaev, but I want to tell you why. I just want to be really candid with you, guy. Ankalaev began texting me. He began tweeting to me, and he asked for my opinion. He let me know that he watches the show, and he asked my opinion on a couple of things. I'm just being candid. I like that. It made me feel good. Boosted me up a little bit. Not to mention, he's come to the top of his game. He's getting ready to main event, fight for world championships. I get it. I get that it's a grain of sand. But in that tiny grain of sand, he now made me feel involved. All right. Ankalaev right now. He's come to me for advice. Now, that's one of those things. Careful what you ask for. But he's in an interesting situation, and I've got to interpret it. I've got to interpret what's going on, but Ankalaev is allowing a story to go around that he was hurt when he went into the fight with Pereira. Okay. I don't love that. But I do understand the importance of some version of a cover story when things didn't go your way. Now, whether it's true or not is actually not relevant. Because whether it's true or not, it's designed to do the same thing, which is to explain the outcome of a match that didn't go your way. So I don't have a problem with this. But it begins right there. It begins there with, what do you want? What do you want by making that statement? Do you want a rematch? Now, Ankalaev has not tried in the least to get a rematch with Alex Pereira. I am well aware, Eagles, that the likelihood of that is as likely as hell freezing over and Lucifer coming out on ice skates. I'm just sharing for you that he hasn't even tried, and his argument would be very strong. They literally are they're throwing cameras, they're doing cameos, they're doing interviews with Prochazka about Prochazka fighting Pereira. Prochazka's fought Pereira twice and was finished both times. There is nothing in the history of MMA or boxing that would lead you to a conclusion that those two should fight again. And we love Prochazka, right? We love Prochazka so much that though unprecedented, we might actually put him in there again. Though the history of combat says you don't go to a third fight when you're 0-2, there was no controversy. As a matter of fact, of all the rounds ever completed, this guy never even won a round. As a matter of fact, of all the fights and all the rounds that were completed, he didn't make it the distance either time. There's nothing about that goes to part number 3, but they're very limited. Very limited right now at 205 pounds, and they are looking on that direction. And I bring that to you not at all to swat Prochazka. I'm letting you know that what Ankalaev is up against, because Ankalaev does have something very different than Prochazka. He's got a win over Pereira. Ankalaev has something that very few men alive have. In any sport, any way you want to do it, which is a win over Pereira. And when you talk about a fight number 3, and you are looking at Prochazka getting it, that's just where the argument, right? Don't tell me what's going to hold up. I'm talking about that's where the argument starts to come in that, hey, wait a minute, we're going to do fight number 3. You're talking about a trilogy. And trilogy, while definition says fight number 3, colloquially amongst our industry, it means that we're one apiece. It means we're going to do a rubber match. If it's not a rubber match and it's not for all the marbles, why are we doing it? And those are the points where I think that Ankalaev's got a really good argument. Now, it's hard to make. Why? Because Pereira looks like he's moving on. Pereira looks like he's going to go on and he's going to become a heavyweight. That's my guess. That at least looks like what he wants to do. But wouldn't that be good news for Ankalaev? I mean, if Pereira leaves, Ankalaev's legacy is not hurt. If Ankalaev never touches Pereira again, his legacy is not hurt. He could still become the greatest light heavyweight of all time. Like, that door is not closed. He does not need Alex Pereira. He did need him, but he's had him. He beat him. 5 years from now, if Ankalaev is still the champion, he's beaten Alex Pereira. Like, that's not a match that you're going to have an asterisk or you'd have to wonder about. You're going to have some jerks that saw it and it went this way, and then some other people go, yeah, but I watched this other one and it went this way. I mean, it's one of those things. So if Pereira was to leave, now we've got a vacated 205-pound belt. Now we need 2 athletes. Not one guy gets to fight for a world title. We now have 2 athletes that get to fight for a world title. I don't believe that if we're going to pay respect or an integrity to the sport, to resumes, to what's accomplished, to our own rankings committee, I don't believe you're going to be able to get to Olberg Prohaska. I believe you are going to have to include Ankalaev. And the question just becomes, is that versus Olberg or Prohaska? That's what I think. I think that Ankalaev is in a very good spot. I think that Ankalaev is being nice. I think that he's got sour grapes. I think that he's pissed off. I think that he's got a win over a guy, and that guy appears to be a bigger star than he is, and it upsets him. I think that he's worried and he's nervous that he's going to lose his spot, not only as a main event, but as a potential title challenger. But I think Ankalaev's wrong. There's not a lot of times in this sport, which is storytelling. You know what good promotion is? Do you guys know? I hear people say I'm being underpromoted. What does that mean? What does that mean? Your name's not on enough marquees, your name's not on enough billboards, you didn't get enough countdown shows, somebody didn't tweet to you enough. What does it mean to be underpromoted? Very few athletes can answer that question because they don't understand. Promotion is just storytelling. So if you got really well promoted, it just means the story being told about you was more interesting to the people. And there's very few times in this sport where your resume or your ranking or reality or truth is enough to stand up. It's generally the story. Is the story better? But in this particular time, the facts are very on Ankalaev's side. Ankalaev did something that no other light heavyweight did. He beat Pereira. Why should Ankalaev be the one to fight Pereira? Because he beat Pereira. I'm not telling you that that's the direction we're going to go and that that's the fight that's going to happen. What I'm telling you is I don't love Ankalaev's approach of trying to tell the story that I was injured against Pereira and therefore I deserve a grace, I deserve a handout, or I deserve a charity. That's not going to work. But I don't think those things are in his heart. Ankalaev is a badass. Anyone that can beat Pereira, anybody that steps in there with Pereira twice, goes down as a badass. Pereira needs to make his decision. Is he a heavyweight and he's walking away from the belt? Or is he going to let his foot heal and he comes in and he defends the belt? Either way, we're going to have to go around the rankings to find your next opponent because it is glaringly obvious that the one that deserves it the most and the one that is ranked the highest and the one that's beaten the most guys is Ankalaev. And if we're not going to give it to him, fair enough, who do we give him to? We got Olberg and we got Prohaska and we got Pereira and we got Ankalaev. I don't think the main event's going to change. I don't think that order is going to change. That's how I see it. And sometimes if you're hurt, and you're trying to tell the story that you are hurt, you can, but we can also go with a fact that is known about Ankalaev, which is Ankalaev beat Alex Pereira.